So where I live, there's a haunted road called Riverdale Road. There are many stories I have from this road, and I'm not sure which one would be creepier, so here are both of the stories. Number 1, the jogger. The first time that anything happened that was actually kind of terrifying, I was with my best friend on Riverdale Road. We were out until it was late at night, maybe around 12 a.m. to about almost, I want to say 3 a.m. For those who know nothing about the road and the history, due to the fact that the road is extremely curvy and the speed limit does tend to get up to about 40 miles per hour, there have been a lot of deaths. One of the many deaths is a man who was jogging along the road one day. He had got hit and killed, and sometimes when you're driving late at night, you will hear a sound as if you hit something or someone, and if you stop your car, turn off all the lights and kill your engine, well, that's what the story is about. As I said, my friend and I were driving down the road, and I tend to like to drive from one end of this 11-mile long road and back to where it started. I suggested that we stop and kill the lights and engine on our way back, as my friend and I sat there looking at the mirrors and windows, talking like it was any other day. She pointed out a black figure. Like I said, this was late and the road wasn't lit up really all that well. So we watched this figure in the mirrors and we tried to figure out what this thing is. We couldn't figure it out, but as we were watching and sitting there, we noticed it getting closer. Then all of a sudden we were looking in the mirrors and it sounded like someone was patting on my car. It started in the back and went to the roof, then to the front. It was then that we decided to leave. When I turned on my lights and everything on my driver's side, it looked like someone had pressed their face against the window and was breathing hard. We left as fast as we could. Number 2, possessed. There are many things on Riverdale Road. One of them is a Native American folklore, or at least some people would assume that they are. I'm still not sure what it is that we should call what we saw, but from then on we found out that there are skinwalkers and, for a fact, demons. A little information about myself before I tell the story. I've been dealing with spirits for as long as I can remember, and on top of that, I'm a Wiccan and pagan. I practice magic and rituals. Nothing that would ever cause harm, but it's just something that would keep myself and my loved ones protected. There were 4 of us, myself and, at the time, 3 of my friends. We stopped and stayed quiet. Then my friend, Tobes, heard clicking almost like seashells rubbing against each other. Mind you, it's late at night and we live nowhere near an ocean, nor is there a road near any form of water that would have seashells. Tobes told me to drive and told me that I needed to get off the road and that he saw something, but he wouldn't tell me what it was. So I drove off. As we were driving, he looked out the window and he saw something else as well. My friend Leon at the time, as we were driving out, he looked out the window and he said he saw something as well. I got us back home, and when we got back to my house, I asked all 3 what they saw and to draw what they saw. Tobes drew eyes, but it didn't look like they belonged to the creature. The best I can explain is that it looked like there were 2 sets. Imagine a suit, but more real looking. That's what it looked like, but more real and animal-like. Then deep down, it looked like a set of human eyes, something that didn't belong to the first set. They were smaller than what they should have been. Liam said he saw some kind of animal go from a crouching position then to a full standing position, or at least as full as something hunching over could. The next day, Liam asked me to go back, so I took all 3 of them back. Tobe started acting weird and didn't feel comfortable. I can't really explain, but it just wasn't him. The longer we stayed on the road, the worse Tobes got. We got off the road the second that he heard a voice coming outside the truck and then drove around for a while. But Tobes was acting even weirder. He was shaking his hands uncontrollably. The only reason why I knew this was happening was because I was holding his hand and he was getting almost aggressive with Casey and Liam. We went to the nearest Walmart. Casey and Liam walked away as I talked to Tobes and performed a small cleansing as we talked. He looked at me and told me that he didn't remember me turning on Hamilton. We were already at about I Want to Say Satisfied, which is the 11th song on the soundtrack, and I had started at the beginning. I told him that he was singing along with me, but he just insisted that he didn't remember that I had played it. The first cleansing didn't work. I think it had to do with that I didn't have a lot of protection stuff on me and I didn't have everything. Liam had gotten a hold of a friend who told us what to do. The second ritual also didn't work. It just made whatever was in Tobes angrier. A few days later, Tobes had began to get more aggressive, and he heard the same voice in his own head, the same one that he heard the night of him getting possessed, and it kept telling him to eat both Liam and Casey, but ended up coming to a compromise, which was raw chicken. He kept telling me that he was craving raw chicken. I couldn't do anything at the time. I was at work. So once I was off, we all went to the mountains after I bought a bunch of stuff, but when I got off, I grabbed a bunch of my own personal stuff as well. We went up, I made salt circles around all 4 of us. As I was performing the ritual, I then asked Tobes to close his eyes. I asked him what his name was. The voice that came out of Tobes, I can still hear it today. It was way too deep to be his. Tobes has more of a high-pitched sound. It responded with,
Bartholomew.
I told him he wasn't welcome. He needed to leave over and over again. When I asked him again what his name was, Tobes responded, crying. But that wasn't the last of the possession. Days later, we found out that he had another spirit in him. I did the salt circles once again in another location, and we did the ritual this time. It was that of a girl named Anna. She said that he went somewhere that he wasn't supposed to go, and asked why she had to leave when she had been with Tobes for almost 6 years. She said it wasn't a problem before, which shook me to my core. The thought of Tobes not noticing that there was something wrong. I wouldn't have known because 6 years ago I didn't know him, so I wouldn't have noticed a difference in case anyone asked why I didn't notice. I then told her that she had overwelcomed her stay and to give Tobes another chance. Then I kept telling her to leave. Finally, he let out a huge sigh. When I asked what his name was, this time it was Tobes. I asked how he felt, and he looked up at me and responded with, like all of my depression and most of my emotional issues just left me. We then performed another protection spell. I don't know what has happened to either the spirit or the demon or whatever it was. I'm not sure if I want to know. I do know one thing though. Don't ever be disrespectful towards or taunt any demons or really any kind of spirit for that matter. That's how things can go wrong. And if you do something that would end up upsetting them, well, if I was you, I would pray that you have a friend that knows how to perform the right rituals to fix it.